Now, the first fundamental statement I want to make tonight is this, that America is a Christian nation. I know we don't act like it. I know there's a lot of evidence that we don't behave that way, but the fact is the founders had that in mind. As you walk up the steps to the U.S. Supreme Court building, you can see near the top of the building up there a row of the world's lawgivers, all facing centrally to one person who is standing there facing frontally, and that is Moses, and he's holding the Ten Commandments. This is a Christian nation. And as you enter the Supreme Court courtroom, the two huge oak doors have the Ten Commandments engraved on each lower portion of each door. And as you sit inside the courtroom, and I've done all this, I've been a defendant and a plaintiff, you can see the wall right above where the Supreme Court judges sit, a display of the Ten Commandments. There are Bible verses etched in stone all over the federal buildings and monuments in Washington, D.C. James Madison, one of the founders, the fourth president, by the way, a Virginian, known as the father of our Constitution, made the following statement. He said, quote, "We have staked the whole of all our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the Ten Commandments of God." That's how we got started. Patrick Henry, another Virginian, a patriot, the first governor of Virginia, said, quote, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ," end quote. Now that's who this great nation is. We are a Christian nation. Every session of Congress begins with a prayer led by a paid preacher, a chaplain, whose salary has been paid by the taxpayers since 1777. A Christian nation. 52 of the 55 framers of our Constitution were members of established Orthodox Bible-believing churches in the colonies. A Christian nation. Thomas Jefferson once worried that the courts would one day overstep their authority and instead of interpreting the law, would begin making law. Sounds familiar. An oligarchy, the rule of a few over many. And that's what's happened to us in recent days. You know, the very first Supreme Court justice was John Jay. And he said Americans should select and prefer Christians as their rulers. Now, Jay was also the first president of the American Bible Society. Wouldn't that give the ACLU hernias today? President of the American Bible Society. So don't let anybody tell you that this is not a Christian nation. It is that. In the last generation, about 40 years, we have strayed terribly. But we've entered the 21st century, and we like to call these kids the Gen Xers or the millenarians or whatever. But I tell the 21,000 students at Liberty University, 8,000 on the campus, I tell them every week, I'll be speaking at 10 o'clock in the morning in chapel every Wednesday. And I tell them that you're the hope for this country, and your mission is world evangelization. Whether you're going to be doctors, lawyers, journalists in the sciences, the arts, preachers, whatever, your mission is to save America and from the base of American freedom, evangelize the world in your generation. You must bring this nation back to the faith of our fathers. And I'm saying that to the young people here tonight, and we pastors, we elders. The 20th century was mine. The 21st century belongs to my children and grandchildren. I may get a few days in this one, but not many. But I want to tell you that in this 21st century, young people, you have a mission because there is a cause to save this nation. Is there not a cause? There is one. Like young David, you must do it. Now, the big question is, how then have we gotten to the point that everything we have done and believed for our first 200 years as a nation has now in the past generation, according to liberal judges and the ACLU and Americans United, etc., become suddenly wrong and unconstitutional? It is not unconstitutional. We have judges who should be impeached. We have have courts that have gone far too far, and we Christians are the hope for saving America. I preached to I spoke to a group of political people on Thursday before the Republican convention in New York. There were 400 millionaires and billionaires there. It's called the Council for National Policy, and you can't get in unless you loaded. And it's they brought me in as a speaker, and I was there the night before for the happy hour, so I knew they weren't Baptist. And that morning, as I spoke to them, I said, very often I don't get somewhere twice, so I'm going to say it my first time here today. That these were all Republicans, of course, that Republicans are not the hope for America, nor the Democrats. Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone is the hope. And things got very quiet. And I said, now, some of these were non-believers, some were Jewish, and so on, good conservative, fiscal and political conservatives. And I said, let me explain. The Republican Party is comprised of three conservative groups: political conservatives, the Goldwater types; fiscal conservatives, many of you in this room right now; and then the largest constituency and the only constituent that's growing, social conservatives, pro-life, pro-family, strong national defense. We're a part of the conservative, and the only way you guys can ever win, the only way, is to energize our base. There are 80 million of us, and I know what you're thinking. Now, you got nowhere to go, but you give us a pro-choice candidate, and we'll go fishing, because we cannot vote for our mother if she's pro-choice. And if she believes a family is anything other than a man married to a woman, they've got that straight in the barnyard. So so things got very quiet. I said, let me tell you something. We are very energized about this fellow George Bush, because he's an overt Christian. He witnesses openly. And we could care less that he's Republican. If he were a Democrat, we'd still be behind him because of who he is and what he believes. And we are, I've never seen the energy level, I told him, as high in our group since maybe 1984, Reagan's second time around. And we're going to the polls, and we're going to help you. We're going to help you win November 2. But I'm thinking down the road, November of 2008, when Sister Hillary is our opponent. And I'm telling you, if you don't give us a pro-life, pro-family crusader for righteousness, Hillary's going to be your president. Now, you can go tonight and sleep on that or have another happy hour if you want to. But that is the way it is. That is the way it is. Because we preachers have taught our congregations so clearly that they believe what we've taught them. And they cannot get exercised over a political party or a politician, only over biblical views and values that are embodied in the heart and life and ministry and voting pattern of a man or a woman. And we don't care if the person's a Catholic or a Baptist or a Pentecostal or whatever. If he or she is committed to what the Bible teaches on faith and family and values, you'll have us. If you try to get cute and get somebody popular and somebody who everybody likes and got a great national image, but he or she is pro-choice and does not know what a family is, you're going to lose. Just put it down. You are going to lose. Now, with that I'm not making any threats. I'm just telling you what is. Christ is the hope for America, and Christ works through his church. And if you want the church at the polls helping you win, then give us a man or a woman who believes what the church believes.